This is the first lesson in Chapter 9. Chapter 9 is going to be all about circles. So it shouldn't be too difficult, but there is a ton of vocab to keep track of. We've got like 4 vocab words for this lesson, and we'll just kind of keep adding a whole bunch every day. So if I were you, even if I'm just watching the videos, I would still write down these words somewhere if you don't have them already. So we're going to start things off pretty simple with circumference. You probably know about a circle's circumference already. Things you don't know, though, might be how we name a circle. We name a circle based on its center point. So this would be circle C. You could write out circle C if you want to. Otherwise, you can just draw a circle. If you just draw a circle, make sure you put a dot in the middle of it. That kind of shows us that it's a circle, not the letter O. If you forget the dot, it's not the end of the world. So that's going to be circle C. A chord is a segment with both endpoints on the circle. So AB would be an example of a chord because it's a line segment where A and B are both on the circle. ED could be a chord too. The radius, that's a word we kind of already know. It's a segment with endpoints at the center and on the circle. So it looks like in this example, CF is a radius. I also could have said CD or CE. And then a diameter is a chord that passes through the center of a circle. So in this case, it looks like DE would be a diameter. And the diameter is always made up of 2 radii, so the diameter is always twice as long as the radius. All right, we're going to do a quick example with some identification. So based on this circle, first thing I want to do is name the circle. We're going to find the center of it. It looks like this is going to be circle R. And if you ever see a point inside of a circle, we're going to assume that that point is the center. Name the radii of the circle. So a radius is any line segment that connects the center of the circle to the outside of the circle. So looks like Rx is a radius, RA is a radius, RY, and RB. Name the chords of a circle. So a chord is just any segment that has both endpoints on the outside of the circle. So AX is a chord. AY is a nice long chord. AB is a chord. We've got a whole bunch of them. XY and YB. D has me name the diameters of the circle. So a diameter are just our chords that pass through the center. So it looks like that's going to be AB and XY. And then we get one problem with some numbers in it. If RY is 10, So if the radius of this circle is 10, find AR. Well, AR is another radius. A circle's going to be the same distance all the way around, so AR would be 10 units. And AB, AB is a diameter. Diameter is always twice the radius. So if the radius is 10, the diameter is 20. So there's all the vocab that we need to know for today. Then we're going to move into circumference. Circumference is something you probably already know. It's the distance going around the outside of the circle. We have two formulas for circumference. You can either use 2 pi r, so 2 times pi times the radius, or pi d, which is pi times the diameter. But these are actually the same formula because we just said that the diameter is twice the radius. So it doesn't matter which version you use. Typically, I'll just choose one based on if I'm given the radius or the diameter. So in our first example, we want to find the circumference of a circle with a radius of 5 centimeters. Since I'm given the radius, I'm going to use that 2 pi r version. So circumference is 2 times pi times, in this case, 5. This question doesn't tell me if I want the exact answer or a decimal approximation. If it's that exact answer, we would leave pi in our answer. So we would just call this 10 pi because we can multiply in any order. If it asks us for an approximation or a decimal approximation, I would just type 10 pi into my calculator. We know pi is about 3.14, so we probably don't even need to put that in a calculator. It would be 31.4. And those are in centimeters. So again, in this case, either answer would be correct because the question does not specify if we want an approximation or an exact answer. In the next question, we want to find the diameter of a circle with a circumference of 256. So figure out which version of the formula you want. Since we're talking about diameter here, I probably want to know that circumference equals pi d. Let's plug in what we know. The circumference is 256 feet. The diameter is what we're trying to find. And pi is just a number. So I'm going to divide by pi on each side to get the diameter all by itself. And again, if we were asked to find an exact answer, I could just leave it as 256 divided by pi. That's the exact answer. If we wanted a decimal approximation, I would throw that in a calculator, and that's about 81.5. And my unit on that is feet. In the next two, I want to find the exact circumference of each circle. So that word exact tells me if there's a pi in the answer, I'll just leave pi in the answer. All right, so in order to find the circumference of this yellow circle on the left, I need to know either the diameter or the radius. Let's start by finding the diameter. Well, I notice that that's actually the side of a right triangle where I know two legs, so I'm going to use the Pythagorean theorem. If the diameter is x in this case, then we know that 8 squared plus 6 squared will equal x squared. X would be the square root of 100, so it would be 10. Now that I know the diameter of the circle, I can use one of my equations, either 2 pi r or pi d. Let's use pi d since we have the diameter. And since we want an exact answer, I'm going to call this 10 pi. And our unit is centimeters. Kind of messy, but that should be centimeters. All right, and then we've got one more. We want to find the circumference of each circle. So in this case, we're talking about a circle that is inscribed in a square. Inscribed just means to put a shape inside of another shape. So all we need to know is the radius or the diameter. In this case, let's find the diameter. Since this square is 11 yards tall, that means that the diameter of the circle will also be 11 yards. Circumference is pi times the diameter. So in this case, 11 times pi. We want an exact answer, so we're just going to call it 11 pi yards.